right, it's already that time of the week. Let's take a look at what books are coming out so I can tell you what's on my pull list. Welcome back to Comics Are Dope. I'm BJ Kicks, and this is The Pull List, my weekly video where I tell you, out of all the books coming out this week, what's on my pull list, what's on the chopping block, and what's on the maybe list I'm making a game day decision on. And I always try to do this while staying under budget. This week is a stacked week, and I can't lie, I got to make some tough decisions this new comic book day, Wednesday, March 8th. So we'll get to those tough decisions, but let's start with the book that I'm most excited about. And you know what it was. Static Shadows of Dakota, issue number 2 from DC Comics and Milestone Media. This book is written by Nicholas Draper Ivey and Vita Ayala with art by Nicholas Draper Ivey. Issue 1 came out with a literal bang. It just came in, just started off with a bang and jumped straight into the action. And that was something I felt like was missing from the season 1 Static miniseries. And so we got action, we got great dynamic art from Nicholas, and a story featuring Ebon, who you may remember from the Static Shock animated series. And what we've been getting teased with on social media and in the book itself is that, hey, this book is about to get a lot darker. There's a reason it's called Shadows of Dakota, and I'm very excited to see where this goes. Man, yeah, there's no book that I'm more excited about reading than this. So Static Shadows of Dakota, issue number 2. It's got a cover price of $3.99, and I'm definitely getting cover A and cover B. And there's a ratio variant by Sanford Green. It's a 1 in 25, and if I can find that, I'm probably getting that one too. Can't even lie. But $3.99 for cover A. So grab that at your LCS this week. And since we're talking about Milestone, which is kind of an offshoot of DC, let's go back into the DC universe with the rest of my pull list, starting with The Adventures of The Adventures of Superman, John Kent, number 1. Now, I did a live stream last week about how this is pretty much the best time to be reading a Superman comic right now. Action Comics and the main Superman title are eating right now. They're great. If you're not reading them, go back to Superman number 1 from last month. Go back to Action Comics 1051 and 1052. Like, read those. You'll love them. But also, the third sort of leg in the new triangle era is going to be this, Adventures of Superman, John Kent, written by Tom Taylor. This is sort of branching out of the Son of Kal-El series. It's not really, it's basically a brand new story featuring John Kent, but same writer. And we're going to see John Kent sort of traveling across the multiverse trying to save his dad in a bunch of different realities. And apparently this is going to see Tom Taylor revisit the Injustice universe. So that'll be fun. But I can't lie, I'm probably least excited about this book than the other 2 Superman titles. What keeps me intrigued is the fact that Tom Taylor does pretty good with like Elseworld stuff, and him jumping back into the Injustice world could be really cool. I've not read any of Injustice though, so I don't know. I'm skeptical, but I'm excited. So I don't know. Take that for what you will. Adventures of Superman, John Kent, number 1. It's got a cover price of $3.99. I'm going to grab the cover A. And we've done with Superman, so now let's move on to Batman, issue 133. Batman, written by Chip Zdarsky, art by Mike Hawthorne during this arc of the story. And, you know, we started off with like a sort of homage. The first arc in Zdarsky's story was like an homage to Tower of Babel in ways, and kind of a follow-up to Tower of Babel. And then this second arc kind of felt like the return of Bruce Wayne from the Final Crisis era. So like an homage to Grant Morrison. But basically, Bruce got blasted into another reality, and now he's in a Gotham where in this Gotham's reality, Bruce Wayne and aka Batman died a long time ago. So now that he's back and he's operating, everybody's like kind of like, yo, what's going on? And so all of a sudden, it's this really intriguing story about how he's going to operate in this Gotham and make it home without, you know, getting taken out by the, you know, all these familiar versions of people who are clearly in a different reality. So we got Selena, We're seeing Two-Face, and we're seeing some new major players as well. So very interesting stuff. Excited to see how that goes. So Batman 133, I don't know, kind of lost me in the last issue, but brought me back for 132. So now 133 I'm excited about. Cover price on this one is $4.99. I'm grabbing cover A. And the next book on the pull list this week is The Flash issue 794. If I'm not mistaken, this is part 4 of the 1 Minute War, maybe part 5. But anyway, I think I might be an issue behind on 1 Minute War. They just kind of came out a little bit quickly for me. But in this issue, we're going to see young Irie West, in the spotlight, trying to have her turn towards saving the day. And Irie has been one of the bright spots on this Jeremy Adams Flash run. Not to say that it's not a good run. I'm just saying, like, it's a great run, and she's a really big part of why it's great to me. So I'm excited to see her get some spotlight in this issue. I got to get caught up, though. Flash 794 has got a cover price of $3.99. I'm grabbing cover A. And the last book on the DC Comics pull list this week is Monkey Prince issue number 12, the epic series conclusion. Now, you guys know I was singing Monkey Prince's praises like to the high heavens, basically during the first 2 story arcs. And then Monkey Prince kind of got interrupted by Lazarus Planet. Not necessarily interrupted, but roped in to Lazarus Planet. Monkey Prince has a big part in Lazarus Planet, but Lazarus Planet ended up just being like 2 main story one-shots and then a bunch of other anthology one-shots. But Monkey Prince was happening in the middle of all those. And so I'm kind of lost in the Monkey Prince story. I think I need to catch up on issues 11 and 12. And hopefully it doesn't tie too heavily into Lazarus Planet, because I felt like Monkey Prince was a great thing through the first 8 issues, like straight up. But anyway, Monkey Prince issue 12, series conclusion this week, and that's going to be a cover price of $3.99. I'm grabbing cover A. And that's it for the DC books on the pull list. If I stick to the list, and you already know I'm not, but if I stick to the list, just the cover A's are going to cost me $21 this week. So let's move on to the Marvel books on the pull list, where the first book on my pull list is The Amazing Spider-Man issue 21. Amazing Spider-Man, written by Zeb Wells, with art by John Romita Jr. Yes, he is back on this issue, and they are finally giving us the story arc where we learn exactly what Peter Parker did 6 months ago to make everyone hate him so much, to cause Mary Jane to go and get married to some other dude and become a stepmom, all in 6 months. Can't lie, dog. I'm so like at my wit's end with Spider-Man. Maybe not at my wit's end. Like, I'm not quite to the point where I want to drop the book, but this arc's got to be really good to keep me. And I don't know that I'm that confident in it, but I just staying on the hook for this mystery all this time. Like, well, I got to know what happens before I drop it, right? And maybe I'm the sucker. I'm probably the sucker. But anyway, Amazing Spider-Man issue 21. It's got a cover price of $3.99, and I hope it's worth it. That's the cover A. Next up on the pull list, speaking of disappointing runs, Black Panther, issue number 15. Black Panther, written by John Ridley. I think the art on this one is by Germán Peralta, which is actually decent art. But John Ridley has taken T'Challa through the mud. And through 14 issues, it has just been straight up mud slinging all on my guy T'Challa. And, you know, I had a similar kind of issue with I Am Batman. Like, well, we've gotten this far, you know, we only got a couple of issues left to wrap up the story, and then the wrap up was not nearly like as redeeming or rewarding as you might hope. And so with Black Panther issue 15, it's going to be more of the same, I'm assuming. I don't know what they're going to do with T'Challa. I don't know how they're going to end T'Challa's status with Wakanda, except I do know that Eve Ewing is starting her new run in a couple of months. And she already said she's going to start it with T'Challa basically on the run. So I don't know. We're obviously going to end this not on a great high note, but it'll be a conclusion. And at this point, I got to see the conclusion. So Black Panther issue 15's got a cover price of $3.99. I'm grabbing cover A. All right, so on to brighter spots in the Marvel Universe. Next up on the pull list is Fantastic Four, issue number 5. Fantastic Four, written by Ryan North, I don't remember who's on art, but the art is great in this series. So issue 4, we finally got the Fantastic Four back together. We found out why they were like at odds, and they kind of, kumbaya, got back together. And so this issue 5 might as well be an issue 1. It's a brand new story arc with the team all together. So if you haven't been reading Fantastic Four, pick up this issue. It's been fun so far, but I am excited to see like the family all together and how that works in the story. So new story arc starts here. Grab Fantastic Four issue 5 with a cover price of $3.99. I'm grabbing cover A. Next up is a book that I'm not crazy excited about, but I kind of need to grab it. So it's Nightcrawler's issue number 2. So this will be part 4 of the Sins of Sinister event. Maybe part 5. It's hard to keep track, but we had Sins of Sinister number 1, Storm of the Brotherhood of Mutants. Then we had Nightcrawlers, and then we had Immoral X-Men. So this is definitely part 5. Now we're going back into Nightcrawlers. I wasn't super crazy about Immoral X-Men last week, and I wasn't super crazy about Nightcrawlers the week before. And with Nightcrawlers, though, I think my issue with it is this, that it's a little bit harder to tell what's going on. It's not as clearly defined. So I'm hoping the story gets fleshed out a little bit better. The reason I'm not skipping it is because these are clearly meant to be read sequentially, kind of like Ten of Swords was a couple years ago. So you might miss something if you don't read this part 5 that becomes relevant in the Storm book in a couple of weeks. And so yeah, I don't want to be missing out on key parts of the story. So I'm going to read this issue and hopefully it starts to bring some things together. But I just felt like Cy Spurrier just lost me with Nightcrawlers last time around. But issue 2 is out this week with a cover price of $3.99. I'm going to grab cover A. Next up from the Marvel pull list is Silver Surfer Ghostlight, issue number 2. So Silver Surfer Ghostlight, written by John Jennings. Issue 1 took me by complete surprise. It wasn't on my pull list. It wasn't on my radar. I just saw some people talking about it in other groups that I'm in. And I was like, okay, well, I'll just pick it up. And man, it was one of my favorite books that I read in February. And here it is back with an issue 2. If you know anything about Silver Surfer's history, and if the name Al Harper rings a bell to you, you might want to check this out. So Al Harper is back. He came back in an interesting way in issue 1, but we're going to see a lot more of him in issue 2. And this will probably be the one that determines whether or not I'm going to keep it on the pull list. But I can't lie, with all the work that John Jennings did with the background characters, I don't see this dropping off anytime soon. So Silver Surfer Ghostlight issue number 2. It's got a cover price of $3.99. I'm grabbing cover A. And the last book on my Marvel Comics pull list is X-Men issue number 20. So X-Men, written by Jerry Duggan. I never remember how to say his name. But in issue 18, we got like this super random shot of Corsair basically being taken over by a brew. And then in issue 19, which we found out was a crossover with Captain Marvel, we got more violence, more fighting the brew, and just a very big action-packed issue. But one thing that kind of is standing out is from the Jonathan Hickman run is that Brew is supposed to be like the king of the brood. And so he should be able to stop this, shouldn't he? And so in this issue, hopefully, Brew will help us because he's our only hope. So issue 20 of X-Men's got a cover price of $3.99. I'm grabbing cover A. And that's it for the Marvel books on the pull list. For those of you keeping track at home, my Marvel total is going to be $24 this week. I told you it was a stacked week. But let's try to make up for some of this deficit in the indies, where the first book on my pull list is Blood Tree, issue number 2 from Image Comics. This is a book written by Peter Tomasi with art by Maxim Simic. And I very much enjoyed issue 1. Then after I read issue 1, I found out that this was like a digital first series that you can read every issue of on some random web comics platform. And so then I started peeking and I read most of what will be issue 2 and I still like it. And I was like, you know what? I'm not going to read this online because then I wouldn't have a reason to buy it. I'm going to wait till it hits print and maybe the story pacing will hit me a little bit differently. So Blood Tree issue number 2. I'm loving it so far. Cover price on it is $3.99. I'm going to grab cover A. And the next one on the pull list is a similar situation, but this is from Dark Horse Comics. This is Clear #1. Clear, written by Scott Snyder with art by Francis Manapul. It's a creator-owned work from the Comixology Originals line, so you can actually read issues 1 through 6 of Clear right now on Comixology, included in your membership. But in case you're not a Comixology subscriber, this series is about like this world where everyone lives with like filters, and at any given time you can just kind of choose like what you want to see in the world around you. So if you like westerns and you want the world around you to look like a western, then cool, everybody's like riding horses instead of motorcycles and stuff, right? If you are like you want to live in the Tron world where everybody's got like the electric bikes and stuff, you got that, right? And this guy is basically a police officer trying to solve the murder of a dear friend of his, a former love interest. And he's like the only person in this reality who wants to see reality for what it is and not like through some idealized filter. And so honestly, this book really, I'm not like, I'm not a fan of Scott Snyder, but I'm not like the biggest Scott Snyder fanboy around, right? Like from the outside looking in on most of his stories, Scott Snyder just kind of feels like he's like that friend you have in like 8th grade who just has ideas like, oh, what if we made a comic where it was super dark outside and it was monsters coming to get everybody, and the main character, she's this little girl and she's like the light of the world, and like it feels that random, like looking at Scott Snyder helmed titles. But if nothing else, this book feels like an excuse, just through what I've read digitally, for Francis Manapul to draw some of the most amazing artwork you have ever seen. The way he pulls in like different scenes that are related, but just this is a masterclass in comic book art and storytelling. And through the 2 issues that you're going to get in this print edition, it's really good. I decided to stop reading it online so that I'd be more psyched out when the print issues came in. So you're gonna get the story. Like I said, anyway, there's 6 issues of the series available online. Each single issue in print is gonna collect 2 of those digital issues. So we're gonna get the first third of the story in this issue, and we're gonna get some character design, some behind the scenes stuff, and it's gonna be a pretty nice presentation. So anyway, super excited about Clear #1, if you couldn't tell. Cover price on this one is $4.99. I'm going to grab cover A. There are a lot of covers. They're all by Francis Manapul, except one cover by Cliff Chang. And you honestly can't go wrong with any of them, but the cover A is my favorite cover. And it's one I saw Francis Manapul drawn on his YouTube channel, and I just like it. Anyway, I probably shouldn't talk that much about one book on this series, but Clear #1, cover price $4.99, grabbing cover A. And that is my indie pull list. And if I stick to that part of the list, those are going to cost me $9. But I feel like I should tell you which books had to get the chopping block, had to get the axe, so that I could stay under my comic budget. Because if I just buy what I've spoken about so far, I'm at a grand total of $54 before my subscriber discount, which will take me right at about $51 after tax. I can live with that. But to get there, I had to cut 2 books off the list. And the first of those was Almighty, issue #2. Almighty, written by Michael LaRoche. It's Edwin LaRoche or Edward. Ed LaRoche. And he's the artist on it as well. And it was a really cool book about like this dystopian future where the world is kind of like gone through an apocalypse, and now there's like these factions, and some girl gets kidnapped, and some like mercenary for hire basically is hired to retrieve this girl. And so she retrieves her in issue #1, and they start their like journey to get away from the bad guys. And I'm excited to learn more about the bad guys. I'm excited to see how they make it. I'm excited to see like this mystery or mysterious mercenary. Like I'm excited about a lot of those different things. But when I read issue 1, my gut feeling wasn't like, I gotta see what happens next. It was like, okay, this will be cool when it hits trade, a nice like short story to read all in one sitting. And so because that was my gut feeling, and because it's already a bloated week, that book had to get the chopping block. But I'm very excited to read the rest of the story whenever it's out. The next book that had to get the axe this week, and you probably could have seen it coming, but this is Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, The Armageddon Game, The Alliance, #5. So Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, The Armageddon Game is an event that's going to be running all the way up through next month. And I have read like 2 chapters out of the 18 or so that, it'll end up being. And The Alliance was like a kind of TMNT team up series where like a bunch of side characters would team up together and go like, basically take out some sub threat to the main plot. And honestly, again, I'm so far behind on the Armageddon game. By the time I caught up to this one, it'd be out in hardcover. And I'm probably going to pick up the hardcover because I'm buying all the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles hardcovers. And so I just don't need to have this in single issue. The cover price on it is $3.99 and I needed to save $4. And so I chopped it off of the list, which means my set of Armageddon game single issues will not be complete. And I had to be okay with that. That's just a tough decision I had to make to stay under budget. So those were the 2 books I chopped off the pull list this week. If I had to chop one more to actually be under budget, it'd probably be between Nightcrawlers and Silver Surfer Ghostlight, but I liked Silver Surfer Ghostlight way too much to cut that off. Nightcrawlers, like, again, just kind of feels like it's going to be necessary to the overall story, even if I'm not enjoying it as an individual issue. So, yeah, man. Yeah, it's just a tough week. So I'll cut my losses and be at 54 for the week. I'm cool with that. But what's on your pull list? What did you chop off to stay under your budget? Do you make such responsible decisions or do you just buy whatever you like? I mean, I've done the same thing. That's how I get stuck in a room full of comics like this, right? But let me know what's on your list. By the way, a huge shout out to the channel family who make videos like this possible. If you would like to support the channel the same way that these fine people have, I pointed over there, but they're really over here. If you want to support them like they have, consider clicking the join button down below to get access to some special perks. And until next time, I'll see you guys in another video very soon. Till then, stay awesome and make sure you're reading something dope today. Peace.